On February 24th, 2020, Sarah Boone and her boyfriend George Torres were spending an evening together at Sarah's home. The couple had a bit of a tumultuous past. Both had been arrested on domestic violence charges, but they always seemed to get back together. On this night, the two were drinking, but what happened next is almost inexplicable. George got inside of a suitcase that was then zipped shut. Why and exactly how he got into the suitcase is not 100% clear. But what is clear is that at one point he wanted to get out. Pleaded with Sarah to open the suitcase, but she refused. Instead, she turned on the video camera on her phone and started to record as George begged for his life. Then the following morning, she eventually called 911. She said she and George were playing hide and seek and George ended up in the suitcase. When police responded, they found George dead. Sarah has been charged with second-degree murder now, and the question is, what happened inside that apartment and why was George in that suitcase? I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. Yes, I've got the red tie on. We've got a couple of verdicts we're going to get to this hour. A big day here at Court TV, your front row seat to justice. But what I want to do right now is talk about the next big trial on this network. It's the Suitcase murder trial. This story, this case, this defendant has a long history here at Court TV. We started covering this story when it happened, pre-COVID, like way back when, and we've been following it ever since. I would say 6 or 7 times we've been ramping up, getting ready to cover the trial, and then something happened. Usually an attorney leaving the case. Right now it's different. Right now it's different. The judge is absolutely set on trying this case. She has an attorney who has volunteered his time to represent her. Saw the story on Court TV and came from out of town down in Florida to represent Sarah Boone. So this thing, for the first time, I really, really, really believe this trial is going to happen. And it's just around the corner, less than 2 weeks away. But let's see, right? Anything can happen, obviously, in our system of justice. Things do happen, hurricanes happen. But for all the time that we've been covering and tracking this story, this is the first time I'm locked in and building up and ramping up, getting ready for this trial. Now, let's begin with the victim, George Torres. He died inside of a suitcase. That was not a pleasant death. It was not an instantaneous death. He was begging, he was pleading for his life. The jury will see and hear that. You've seen it here in our coverage of this story on the show. And that's because Sarah Boone recorded it. She recorded about 2 minutes and change of video of George Torres inside the suitcase begging for his life, and she is literally taunting him. It's video that the day after, it seemed like she didn't even remember making or recording, but she did. And obviously it'll be the most important piece of evidence in all of this, but you're going to hear from the medical examiner. You're going to hear from a lot of witnesses trying to establish the history of this couple and then specifically what happened that night. But it always comes back to this. He died in the suitcase, she recorded it, he's begging for his life, and she does nothing to get him out of the suitcase. So what's her defense? We've been saying that from the beginning. What's her defense going to be? Initially, I was wondering, is it about how he got into the suitcase? What were the circumstances there? But things are becoming a lot clearer now that she has her 9th attorney who is preparing for this trial, was on Court TV with me last night on Vinny Politan Investigates. So we have a really good idea where they're going, what that side of the case will look like. And yeah, they're fighting the charges. She's not throwing in the towel. She's not admitting to murder in this case. That's not happening. Let me bring in, because we had a big day in court today, Court TV digital content producer Lauren Silver is with us. Big day today. All these hearings that happened just before the trial take on incredible significance in the way the jury's going to hear and see the evidence in the case. So what's the big story today from this hearing?
Well, today was designed to be sort of a calendar hearing, getting all the last-minute things set before this goes to trial. And this is going to trial on October 7th. Judge Kranick made that very clear. What wasn't clear was the rest of the hearing. It was more than a little chaotic in the courtroom. As you mentioned, this started pre-COVID. Well, everyone who has survived COVID is familiar with remote learning and remote problems, and that is exactly what happened in the courtroom. Her attorney was remote. He was unable to hear the judge, was just yelling "judge" in the courtroom. The judge couldn't communicate, and so on, back and forth, all while there are still motions on the table that need to be decided.
And you talk about the chaos, right? You had a hurricane rolling through. Places are flooded. You have an attorney from out of town. You've got a lot of issues here. Let's show folks at home some of the technical difficulties and chaos today.
I am not even sure what he is going to do.
Judge, hang on. Let Mr. J finish his point, sir.
I'm not sure if he's going to be testifying to battered.
Judge. Hello. Mr. Owens, we can hear you loud and clear, sir. Judge. Yes, sir. We can hear you. Judge. Mr. Owens, I can hear you. Judge. Sir, I can hear you loud and clear, sir. Judge Kramer.
I see exactly what you mean. And it's a technical difficulty, right? It seems obvious that he couldn't hear what was happening inside the courtroom today. And he's just trying to get in there and let them know. So what was
icing on the cake of a chaotic case?
Yeah,
is what I would say.
So what was on the table in terms of what the motions that were being made today?
Right. So no motions were ultimately decided today. The motions are going to require a more extensive hearing. And the major motion on the table right now is a motion to suppress. James Owens, Sarah Boone, wants to suppress the more than 2-hour interrogation that she did at Orange County Sheriff's Office. And in that, she repeatedly says this was a mistake. I don't know what happened. Mistake. We were playing a game. And, everything was friendly, everything was fun, which is very contrary to the battered spouse defense, which is rooted in self-defense.
Right. And you're alleging that you're a victim of abuse. You're alleging that you're acting in self-defense in the moment, and a lot of the statements she made didn't seem to be consistent with that. So they're attempting to have this suppressed, kept out in front of the jury. Let's take a listen to the interrogation the moment where she is read part of her Miranda rights.
Just like we did yesterday. Remember I read you the rights? Your rights? Yeah, so it's the exact same thing, but since I'm asking you follow-up questions, I need to read them to you, okay? Sure. All right, so you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say may be used against you in court. You have the right to talk to a lawyer before and during questioning without charge. If you cannot afford a lawyer and want one can be provided for you before questioning without charge. Has anyone threatened you or promised you anything to get you to talk to me?
No.
And do you understand what I just read you?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay.
So I guess there the last line is sort of left out of their reading of the Miranda rights. And this is the second time they're doing it, because apparently they did it the day before as well.
Exactly. So they are pointing to this Miranda card, and James Owens wants the detectives to testify. He wants the Miranda card. He wants the procedures, all of it on record, because he is maintaining that all of these should be suppressed based on the Miranda card not being read properly. Now, he is also saying he's going to file a second motion that will cover further interrogations on body cam. And the judge is getting him till 11:59 tonight to file those. And as of 10 minutes ago, those still had not been filed.
He's working hard. I mean, he just took the case, a case that 8 other attorneys walked away from because of difficulties with Sarah Boone. But he's all in. He is working hard, James Owens is. Let's hope that Sarah Boone appreciates what he's doing. So he's got a deadline for an additional motion. The judge, as you said, not waivering any of these deadlines, and it's all because this is all going to happen October 7th. Okay. There was something else that came up today that I think a lot of folks at home will be interested in, which was a motion concerning Sarah Boone's hair and makeup.
Yes, well, her clothing had already come up as an issue, and the judge had already agreed that she could wear civilian clothing. There was the question of the shock cuff that she could wear if she was going to be representing herself. So that is taken care of. But now this motion is requesting that she gets professional hairstyling and makeup. James Owens has likened it to male defendants getting a haircut or a shave to look presentable. But yeah, she wants professional hairstyling and makeup for her trial, in addition to civilian clothes. And at the hearing today, Owens did say that he was planning to have someone take her measurements to get her clothes.
Wow. And you know what? That's probably going to come out of Owens' pocket. Like, he's probably going to get her the clothes that she needs. I mean, this attorney going above and beyond. Again, hopefully Sarah Boone is appreciating what he's doing. But professional hair and makeup, that's the first time I've heard that. Like, I've heard, you know, can we have a little bit of makeup? Because you really don't get it when you're in jail waiting for your trial. But professional, like they want the Court TV incredible makeup artist to fly down for the trial. That's insane. Let's take a listen to the prosecutor talking about this.
I believe the shackles portion of the motion has been a ship that has come through here and sailed. And I believe all the clothing issues have been addressed by the court. The only thing that seemed to be new was the hair and makeup, and I did not see any authority cited that specifically said that was permissible. But we don't really have a dog in the fight. If court admin and security staff, however it works, is going to permit this to perhaps, as far as I know, be the first person to ever have that done in this courthouse, that's between them.
Setting a new precedent, perhaps. What's interesting, I mean, I can't criticize her because it's in my contract for, you know, clothing, hair, and makeup. So I really would be hypocritical if I went after Sarah Boone on this. And she has a lot more at stake than just hosting a show. It's the rest of her life. But still, this is sort of unprecedented. How would you describe her behavior today?
She seemed very happy. There was a lot of smiling, a lot of smirking. It looked like she mouthed, "I love you" at one point.
To who? Hopefully her lawyer.
Sure. And James Owens did note at the beginning that he couldn't see her because, of course, he was remote, and had the judge move the camera so that he could have eyes on her during the hearing.
Wow. This is something. This is something. Now, so there's going to be another pretrial hearing before we get to October 7th?
Yes, and there's going to be testimony. This is going to be on the motion to suppress, and James Owens makes it clear that he wants to hear from all of the detectives who are involved. So we're going to expect to hear from them. Okay,
a testimonial thing. The judge will have to decide about hair and makeup. You know what? I wonder if, like, day one she gets one hair person and then she fires them, and then we bring in a second hair person, then a third. We'll see how it all develops here. All right, so lock it in. We are guaranteeing as much as we can for the folks at home who've been waiting for this trial, October 7th, right here on your front row seat to justice. But before that, we'll have another pretrial hearing as they get ready for this, and maybe they'll try out some makeup artists for the pretrial hearing. It's Sarah Boone, folks, right? Lauren Silver, Court TV digital content producer. You can read all of her stuff on courttv.com. Amazing work that she does day in and day out. Thanks so much, Lauren. Okay, when we come back, we're going to bring in our think tank, see what they have to say about all of this, plus coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, it's the story everyone is talking about, the shooting death of Kentucky Judge Kevin Mullins. The accused killer, local sheriff Mickey Steins. Why would the sheriff shoot the judge? We investigate.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan
In every story, in every trial, every case, there's at least two sides to it.
to dive into the latest
Oh my God.
and breaking true crime stories.
This was a very targeted, very personal attack.
Inside
I've never seen that in Discovery. I've been incarcerated 3 years.
and outside of the courtroom.
She's a psychopath.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan investigates tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
Sometimes I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do. I'm afraid of it. I'm afraid of his family. My son can't come over here because he's here.
That's Sarah Boone explaining how she's afraid of George Torres. Police were called, they responded. This is September 4th of 2019, so it's months before George Torres dies inside of the Suitcase. I want you to take a listen to more of her explaining this, because she is alleging battered spouse syndrome and self-defense. Does it sound like she is a victim and sort of an ongoing victim in this relationship? Take a listen to the way she explains it all to the responding officer.
Start from the beginning and give me the timeline.
Was it I was asleep?
Not literal time, but in a reference of incidents, how they occurred tonight.
I was asleep, and again, he comes in and wakes me up.
He wakes you up. Okay.
He's out of sorts,
Okay.
so I'm trying to figure things out.
Okay.
Where it's like, don't make it worse. Just go downstairs with him. Because he gets mad at me because I go to sleep.
Okay.
I go downstairs, smoke a cigarette. The whole time I'm being belittled.
Okay.
Pardon me for saying talk about.
And then,
I walked off barefoot.
okay, so when did he hit you? You said he hit you.
That was in the bedroom.
When? I just asked for a
Well,
timeline.
He woke me up.
Okay. He woke you up.
121,
By hitting you? Is that what you're telling me? Or what happened? I need you
He
to
kicked the door open. He's kicked the
You're adding a lot of details that I need you to be very concise with.
Sir?
When I'm telling you, I need a timeline of the events.
Yes.
How am I going to corroborate your story?
He kicked the door open. 4 times. Fourth time, I gave in. Okay? That's when I got punched in my ear. On the 4th time. Where I was like, don't do it anymore. Just go downstairs. Go smoke a cigarette.
Okay.
And that's what I did.
Okay.
And then I walked off barefoot.
Okay. And on the phone, you told me that you attacked him as well.
I didn't attack him.
You said you exchanged, you had a physical altercation on the phone. That's what you told me.
I pulled him off of me.
He said he has marks because I was fighting for my life.
I was being honest with you.
Okay. So what happened? Because you didn't include any of that in there.
This is what happened.
But you didn't include any of that information in the story you just told me, so I'm trying to get a timeline of what happened.
Then I come downstairs.
So he
I'm
kicks
trying
the
to-
door open.
4 times.
He kicks the door open 4 times. And then what? And then what happens?
He's always talking about his kids. I'm, pardon me for saying, and not a mother.
Okay.
I'm just trying to sleep.
Okay.
So, feed the beast. Go downstairs. That's after this.
So why are you leaving that out? You're not telling me how that happened. Again, that's like the 3rd time you've done that.
I don't know what you want me to tell you. He got on top of me and punched me in my
That's
ear.
what I want you to tell me.
Yes.
And I've asked you like 4 or 5 times.
Okay, well, I didn't know you needed that specific.
You didn't even include it at all.
Me in ear. I saw white.
Some level of frustration there from the officer, right, trying to get the story straight. And I guess there was a prior story because there was a phone call before that. Let's bring in our think tank. Joining me tonight, former senior homicide prosecutor, founder of Villalona Law, Bernardo Villalona, and chief public defender for Oakland County, Michigan, who represented the Oxford High School shooter Paulette Lofton is with us. And finally, the attorney who represented Johnny Depp in his legendary case. He won. We all know that. And fellow of the American College of Trial Lawyers, Ben Chu, is with us. Great to see everyone. Bernardo, what are you hearing? She's alleging that she's a battered spouse, so we've got to get into her history. This is one of those incidents, I guess, that they're going to draw upon from September of 2019. What are you hearing here?
Well, I'm more focused on the officer because the officer is displaying that he doesn't believe what she's saying. Like, he's not believing her story. Like, he's constantly trying to get some more details or get answers. And if they decide that they're going to play this in front of a jury, it's going to be a huge issue for Sarah Boone, because you have the first officer that responds to the scene, that is looking at you, that's getting these feelings, and is not believing you. So that's a huge concern for Sarah Boone.
Paulette, what are your thoughts here? How difficult to establish battered spouse syndrome?
It is extremely difficult. I have tried it before. I think with this set of facts and the fact that he was in a suitcase, which I think it may be impossible to put yourself inside a suitcase and zip it in such a manner that you couldn't then get out of. So I think the jury would have so many questions that if she was able to put him in the suitcase, one would assume that she would be safe. So why didn't she call the police then? Or why didn't she try to escape at that point? So I think it's going to be difficult based on this video and based on the other facts of this case.
All right, Ben Chu, I want you to take a listen to a little bit more of Sarah Boone. I know you want to hear more from Sarah. Here she is in her interrogation describing some of the other incidents. So this is going to be more of her historical recollection of what was happening in this relationship.
I don't think the last physical was probably, you said, I think, what, a month ago? Where you got the injury, right? You said that was a month ago?
A few weeks, give or take, yeah.
A few weeks. That was the last, like, physical altercation between the two of you? You said a month ago he hit you with a curtain rod.
Yeah, with a curtain rod. That's why I can't believe you guys didn't take that either.
Huh.
Like, we've been good. I don't know if, like, it's since the last time he got out of jail.
No, you said you guys have been good. What's your definition?
I've been good. I don't think you all understand. He comes at me all the time. He comes at me. So it's either I flee or try to go upstairs and go to sleep. That's usually what it is. And I don't know if you talked to Brian about any of that, but most of the time when I flee, I go over there. So...
Right, but you're saying that you guys have been good, and when I asked you yesterday, there hasn't, the last incident that you could remember was the curtain rod incident, which you said was a month ago, so...
Give or take.
Right, so what do you mean by he comes after you? Like,
he gets belligerently drunk. Like, I don't know if you all have looked through my phone yet and seen any of the pictures and the videos that I have taken. And at one point, I started documenting everything.
Okay.
So you all will see in my pictures bloody fingers, split foreheads. He split my nose. I've got this.
Right.
I don't know if Brian told you about it, where I had to have almost I had one really bad surgery, but then it got really, 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 really bad, where I had to go like 4 or 5 more times afterwards for them to tend to it. From him poking me in the back of the leg.
Right.
So it's...
Then why are you still with him?
Everybody asks me that. When I tell you guys this, I really love him, like I do, and I feel like I can help him.
Okay, Ben Chu, here's the question. More or less convincing than Amber Heard?
I have to say they're on a par. I found it very incoherent and unconvincing.
What is it? Like I'm trying. Like she's saying the words, right? I got hit with the curtain rod. I'm scared of him. What are you sensing from her, Ben, that could be a potential problem in this defense?
Well, there's not, the emotion doesn't match the words or the actions, and she seems to require prompting about the curtain rod incident and when it appeared. And as Bernarda and Paulette pointed out, it doesn't jibe at all, of course, with what ultimately happened to George.
Okay, let's take a listen to a little bit more from this interview talking about the relationship.
But he's changed. He changed.
And that's why you're still with him, even though he's done all these things to you. And
when I tell you I love him, I love him.
Boone, when you love somebody, you have limits.
Everybody tells me that. All my neighbors don't tell me that. The office, property manager.
At some point, somebody gets enough, then they have to do something to defend themselves.
I would just flee. I had him arrested how many times?
But you also went down and bailed him out.
I know.
The next day.
I know.
What's on your laptop?
What was I going to tell you? Oh, previously, I actually looked up how to file a restraining order.
Okay.
Because I would kick him out, his parents, because of them constantly having to take him back in, his bags of clothes, all his stuff. The last time, their father came out and irate and just not even, I don't even know if he knew Lucas was in the car, just opened the back of my car and just started throwing all his crap in, just throwing it. Like the car would jostle, he was throwing all his stuff. At that point, because I continually did it, not continually, I think I maybe did it 3 times, and he has nowhere else to go, they got fed up and said, nope, either you're staying there or you're staying here. But if you're staying here at their place, it's permanent. You're not going back over there anymore. So what happens is he pursues me.
So Bernarda, it seems from my perspective here that she is going to need her expert to talk about what happens to a victim and why a victim would file charges and then bail out the person who was abusing her. And I don't think it's far-fetched to make that argument. I think that's part of the cycle of domestic violence, but it's going to be very necessary. You're going to need a strong expert to override everyone's feelings about Sarah when she talks.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's not unheard of. Of course, I had to deal with domestic violence cases when I was a prosecutor, and it is that ongoing cycle where they return to their abuser. But the thing is that in this case, just like Ben said, her delivery about what happened doesn't match like the feelings and what she's actually saying. So that's why it doesn't come off credible to me. Also, you have to think on the night of the incident when she puts this man inside of a suitcase and zips him up, she is the one in control. In fact, he is begging her to try to get out of that suitcase. And remember from her own recording, from the video recording, how strong she was when she was talking, how angry she was when she was speaking. That wasn't someone that was battered or someone that was abused, because the first time I ever heard that video, I thought the person that was being abused was actually the boyfriend, the husband that was inside of the suitcase, because he came off as the one being the victim, like, please, pretty please let me out, I'm going to be good. He came off as the victim. But in the end, this case is going to come to a battle of the experts, because the prosecution will also call an expert to, of course, debunk what the defense is saying.
Let me ask you, Paulette, on a completely different subject that I was speaking with Lauren Silver about, which was the motion to suppress. They're trying to get a lot of these statements in this interrogation tossed because when the officer was reading or not reading the card, the last line of the printed Miranda warnings left off. Is that going to be a problem for the prosecution? Could her statements be tossed, her interrogation, because they left off the last line or so of the warnings?
I definitely think there's a chance. There is so much case law behind Miranda warnings, and the fact that you must give complete Miranda warnings, and even if you gave them the day before, you must give them completely again when you start another interrogation. So I definitely think there's a chance. I think if these interrogations, these videos do get suppressed, I think she has a better chance, because what we've all said is she's saying the right thing. It's the delivery that doesn't match that. So if she can take the stand and testify as to all these things and have her emotions match her words, I think she has a much better chance than just allowing the jury to see these videos, which we've all said just don't have.
Yeah, and I think she believes she'll have a better chance with the professional hair and makeup as well, which is another pending motion.